Here's why some of the good black men are going SYSBM. First off, the weight issue. Black women, unfortunately, we are some of the most overweight and some of the least healthy. And, men usually pass a certain tax bracket once they get into a certain class. They have a certain amount of wealth. They generally want to be with women that they perceive as the most healthiest. And again, unfortunately, Black women, we are not at the top of that scale. Many of us are, overweight, unhealthy, and obese. And that is impacting our ability to get the high value men that many of us say that we want. And so there's the weight issue. Also, secondly, the wigs and the weaves. That has become such a hot topic. And again, there's a lot of guys out there who are just like, we are tired of the wigs, we are tired of the weaves. We just want women to wear their own natural hair. And you have some guys who will go so far as to say, you know what, if I can't get it within the States, now I'm gonna go, like I said, out of country to get it. Or why date a black woman who's wearing, 100% Brazilian hair? Why don't I just go and get a Brazilian woman? Like, this is how men are thinking. So that's another reason that you have some men who are going SYSBM. Not to mention the attitude, feminism is widespread. We live in a post-feminist era in the United States, and a lot of men feel ostracized from that. And there's a lot of men who feel like feminism has gotten so far that they have been silenced, and it's hard for them to connect with certain women, who don't necessarily want to fit into more traditional gender roles when it comes to marriage. And so instead of fighting women or instead of trying to get them to understand their point of view, they'd rather just go and find women who don't have issues with the idea of submission or cooperation. They'd rather go to maybe a more traditional country where those where classical gender norms still exist. So that's another reason. Again, expectations, inflation, recession is going on. There are still a lot of women who are having these high expectations that a man has to provide in a certain way. And men sometimes can go into other countries and women will be happy with they'll be happy with less, quite frankly. And so, for some men it also just economically it makes so much sense. Not to mention in some of those other countries, your money can go so much more farther. So I mean, and there's so many other reasons. But I would say those are some of the main things that I've heard. And I think at the end of the day, black women in particular, if we do want to see more relationships with high value black men or see more high value black men marrying black women, then we have to ask ourselves, are we competing? Are we actually listening to them, and are we willing to meet them where they're at, or are they having to go outside of the states to find what they want? And if so, why? And how can we do better?